This is a stimulus update and daily news report. Got some big update to share with you. When President Biden was asked when gas prices are going to go down, President Biden said it'll take as long as it takes, referring to the war going on in Ukraine. Also, there's more pressure between Chuck Schumer and Joe Manchin to pass some type of deal. Meanwhile, Mitch McConnell and the Republicans are saying they will not support any type of bill that has to do with the Build Back Better plan. Inflation relief checks going out in one new state. Also, child tax credits going out in another state. Also, Bernie Sanders putting more pressure on the airlines to make prices and delays go down. And I'll give you some other more important updates as well. Hope you're having a wonderful weekend. If you appreciate the fact-based, fast-paced updates, hit the like button down below. And I missed yesterday's video, July 1st, because it was my daughter Kalea's 4th birthday. So happy birthday, Kalea. And she performed in front of a big crowd, dancing and singing and stuff. If you want to take a look at that video, I'll play it later on in this video at the end. But first, let's get into the news. So Supreme Court of the U.S. ruling ups pressure on Schumer to strike climate deal with Manchin. So it seems like on a daily basis, there's more and more pressure to have a deal between Joe Manchin and the Democrats to have something passed before the midterm election. So Supreme Court's decision Thursday to dramatically limit the Environmental Protection Agency's authority to regulate greenhouse gas emissions of power plants puts new pressure on Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer to strike a climate deal with Senator Joe Manchin. The conservative court's 6-3 decision in West Virginia's versus EPA strikes a blow to President Biden's climate agenda and has Democrats and activists scrambling to salvage Biden's pledge to reduce the greenhouse gas pollution by 50% by 2030. Also, there is more opposition and more pressure coming from the other side of the aisle. Mitch McConnell threatens to block $52 billion in funding for the semiconductor industry to combat China if Democrats try to resurrect the Build Back Better bill with Joe Manchin on their side. So the Democrats are trying to resurrect the Build Back Better or some form of it, or at least some pieces of it at this point. So it looks like the Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer threatened to tank the bipartisan bill that puts $52 billion towards the semiconductor industry to compete with China. This is also known as the China Compete Act, and a lot of semiconductor companies are trying to increase the industry here in the U.S. with that $52 billion, but it could be blocked if the Democrats try to pass some form of the Build Back Better, which they are trying to pass, which sets up a bunch of different roadblocks and a bunch of different obstacles going on here. What was said here is, let me be perfectly clear. There will be no bipartisan USICA as long as the Democrats are pursuing a partisan reconciliation bill, which is what Mitch McConnell said. Mitch McConnell, or Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, is in talks with the moderate Democratic Senator Joe Manchin to resurrect portions of the Build Back Better bill. Not the entire Build Back Better as it was stated months ago, but just some piece of it. On the table is a prescription drug price cap, which Democrats blasted McConnell for being against, which I'll talk later on in the video on that. It's actually an insulin bill, I forgot to mention at the top of the video. But also Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre called McConnell's threat shocking and outrageous in a statement on Thursday evening. So it seems like there's a lot of if this, then that's going on right now. I'll keep you updated what happens with the big overall federal bill. When it comes to on a state level, stimulus check, Californians will get up to $1,050 in inflation relief checks. The bill was passed in California and it looks like up to $1,050. That's the max, but usually it's going to be around $300 per person when it comes to that going on with the inflation relief checks going on in California. And then also there is child tax credits going on in New Jersey, $500 checks there. Budget was just passed there, so anybody who has a child 6 years old or under and makes less than $30,000 a year in New Jersey, then you will get a $500 check there. Then also stimulus check updates to know for July of 2022. So this is just kind of giving a roundup of all the different stimulus. So California, we know about the maximum $1,000, $50 checks there. Then Colorado, $400 and $800 checks there. And it could be up to $750 checks there, which will go out in late August. Georgia, $250 and $500 checks there. Hawaii, for anyone who makes less than $100,000, there could be up to $1,200 there, but it's going to be around $300. Idaho, $75 or 12% of their 2020 tax return. Indiana, $125 for singles, $250 for joint filers. Maine, $850 checks there. Then Minnesota, $750 checks if you apply before July 22nd. And then New Jersey, I just mentioned before. And then New Mexico, up to $1,500 rebates and direct payments going on there. Then also, insulin should not be a luxury. Insulin Act would support those who manage type 1 diabetes. So this is a bipartisan bill that is going out. It's called the Insulin Act, a bipartisan proposal by the U.S. Senator Jeanne Shaheen and Susan Collins will take several important steps to make insulin more affordable for diabetes community. First, the bill takes steps to correct the broken insulin market in which people with diabetes can pay up to $300 a vial for insulin, but payers such as insurance companies can get discounts of 70% or more. So basically going to make insulin more affordable. So it's going to be a $35 copay for people with Medicare Part D. Moving on, Bernie Sanders urges Biden administration to fine airlines $27,500 per passenger for worsening flight delays. Take a look at this video clip right here of Bernie Sanders talking more about the flight delays and what can be done about that.
Senator Bernie Sanders now wants the government to take action against the airlines over their delays and cancellations,
calling for, quote, immediate action in a letter to Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg.
Trying to get on an airplane without a cancellation or delay, that's a whole other production.
He would like the DOT to fine airlines $15,000 to $27,500 per passenger for delays. He would also like them to be fined $55,000 for some canceled flights and also reimburse passengers for meals.
It's called the Misery Map.
These flight disruptions will continue well beyond 4th of July weekend.
I just want to get home.
Sad to miss Father's Day with my daughter because I'm stuck here in the airport.
He said that, quote, during the pandemic, when air travel came to a near halt, U.S. taxpayers came to the rescue and gave $54 billion to the airline industry.
The federal government approved billions of dollars to help out the airlines.
They were really bailed out.
March of 2020, Congress approved 3 rounds of taxpayer aid, a $54 billion government bailout.
Given all the generous taxpayer support that has been provided to the airline industry, all of us have a responsibility to make sure that passengers and crew members are treated with respect, not contempt.
A potential travel nightmare for the 4th of July weekend.
They're selling an entire flight to people, knowing that flight is never going to go off the ground.
They kept coming up with one reason after another as to why the flight was delayed.
It has been the worst experience ever.
Again today, thousands of flights either canceled, disrupted, or delayed.
Is this making your vacation more expensive?
Oh, yes, definitely.
Revenue also better than expected at $9.15 billion.
He's calling for some pretty hefty fines on the airline industry.
What are your thoughts on that? Even if you're not flying, should there be something done about all the flight delays, especially with July 4th around the corner? Should something be done there? Let me know your thoughts on that. Also, U.S. approves $820 million military aid package for Ukraine. Russia says Iron Curtain is already descending. Take a look at what President Biden said regarding gas prices and what could be done at the G7 conference. Take a look at what President Biden has to say in a little summary here. Take a look.
Let's get to Kayla Tausche, who is in Madrid this morning with big takeaways from President Biden's European trip. Kayla, good morning.
Good morning, Andrew. President Biden has been hailing the historic nature of this week's summit that saw Western leaders share a renewed vision, plans for NATO expansion. But for Mr. Biden, whose foreign policy has been to approach the world stage from a position of strength at home, he faced blistering questions from journalists about domestic instability. And in one exchange, he was asked about the proposal from G7 and NATO leaders where they said they would back Ukraine for the long haul. They would be supporting the country in its efforts against Russia for as long as it takes. And President Biden was asked How long exactly is that, and how long should American voters be paying a premium for this? Here's how he responded.
As long as it takes, so Russia cannot, in fact, defeat Ukraine and move beyond Ukraine. This is a critical position for the world.
While the war in Ukraine had been a galvanizing issue for voters, they've become deeply dissatisfied. 85% in a recent Associated Press poll told pollsters that they believed the country was headed in the wrong direction. One reporter asked Mr. Biden if he believed that was the case. He said world leaders here in Europe meeting this week had not shared that view. He acknowledged that inflation is high, but he said the one area where he believes the country is moving backwards is the Supreme Court's recent overturning of Roe v. Wade. And he then went on to propose rule changes in the Senate to codify abortion rights. Here's where that happened.
I believe we have to codify Roe v. Wade in the law, and the way to do that is to make sure the Congress votes to do that. And if the filibuster gets in the way, it's like voting rights. It should be, we provide an exception for this, require an exception to the filibuster for this action to deal with.
Pressure from progressives to propose that has reached a fever pitch recently, but it's simply not realistic. There are not 50 Democrat votes to do that right now. Even if 2 more Democrat seats were procured in the November elections, there is still a likelihood that Republicans would flip the House and abortion rights legislation wouldn't go anywhere there. But it is something that the party has been asking Mr. Biden for, and it's something he's going to continue talking about today.
What are your thoughts on that? Should President Biden be doing more? Should the U.S. be doing more to help Ukraine? Or should all that energy and resources be used to make things cheaper here in the U.S.? Let me know your thoughts on that. And that is all the news that I have for you today to hopefully cheer you up a bit. Here's my daughter Bella's tip of the day.
Hi guys, I want to tell you the one thing that you can do to yourself. Be kind, be smart, and also you have to be kind to your mom, your daddy, or your brother, or sister, or anything that you want. And also you have to be kind to yourself.
Thank you so much for watching. So if you didn't know, we are actually in Florida. We were visiting some family before. Now we're actually kind of making our way back up to South Carolina. And Kalea performed in a show, which is really cool. You can see her on stage here, probably in front of like 50 people, which is really cool. She was singing and dancing, kind of like a Wonder Woman superhero theme type show. Also, my daughter Kalea's 4th birthday, which is really cool. Take a look at that. Really cool stuff going on. And if you want to check out any of my other videos on my other channels, you could click up here, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, be safe. Thank you for watching.